Everyone. Please confirm you can hear me, please. Good day, everyone. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you very much. Good day, everyone. My name is Abdulaziz Ofia Kende, and I'll be moderating tonight's session. Welcome to another episode of ID Analytics by Monthly Webinar. And tonight's session is going to be taking another route. I'm sure most of us that have been following our session up till now knows tonight is different. Can anyone tell me what tonight's topic is about? Anyone, please? Habib, Messi, anyone? What tonight's topic entails? Please, let's make it quick. Okay, so tonight's topic is going to be about, it's a tough soft skill topic. It's going to be about setting it right, how to get seen in today's fast changing job market. So by the end of tonight's topic, you'll be able to understand how to stand out and get noticed in today's fast changing job market. So a quick one before we dive in, a quick brief about who we are at ID Analytics. At ID Analytics, we empower individuals and organizations to harness the transformative power of data through tailored training and consulting, ensuring they thrive in today's analytics-driven landscape. We provide hands-on training across various tools like Excel, Power BI, SQL, and lots more. Let's join our community. If you haven't done so, follow us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's a pleasure to have you here, Mr. Kelani Mustapha. He's an experienced human resource professional with strong expertise in employee engagement, performance management, and talent development. He previously worked as a senior human resource business partner at Dentsu for over 4 years. Before that, he worked as a senior recruitment specialist at Superhead International Limited for over 5 years. Mr. Kelani holds an MBA from Nexford University with a focus on HR innovation and leadership. He's passionate about building inclusive, high-performing workplaces and driving organizational growth through effective people strategies. Wow. Having someone like this in our midst tonight means that tonight is going to be a value-packed session. Let's spend on our questions to the end of this session. Mr. Kelani Mustapha, over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for having me. I'd like to say a very good, wonderful, and good evening to everybody. Thank you for having me here. I see we have a couple of people on the call, from Wala Larry, Habib, to Martins, to Arike, to Hassan, and a host of others because of time. I see Kufu, Rola, Omotola, then I also see Titilayo Giwa. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining this very brief session is what I would call it. So before we get started, I'd like to make a quick detour, if you would allow me anyways, especially with respect to the shape and manner with which this is going to go. I think I'd like to seek in the indulgence of the moderator on this before I proceed. And that would be, when I got the invitation to speak with you today, I decided that maybe this conversation is probably would be best shaped to take the form two forms. The first one would be the power of professional branding, and of course the other part of it would be to also look into your digital presence. So how to manage your digital presence and all of that, because we now live in an economy that is an attention-based economy. So showing up is a lot more sometimes more than just the activity that you do. So you have to ensure that you keep showing up. So I'd like to also seek the indulgence of everybody on the call if I can proceed with that thought, or you would want me to just stick to what you already had planned out.
Please
You can
proceed with that.
Okay, excellent. So I'd like to share my screen very briefly. Just give me a second while I do that. In the meantime, anyways, I wouldn't like to talk much about myself, but while she was trying to describe who I am, I'm almost asking myself if that was me that was being described. Do not take all of what she said as is, anyways. I'm not as, well, if you like, important. But just 1 second, sorry, coming up shortly. You might just be hearing the voices of my kids on the background. I apologize for that. But then again, they're probably with you in spirit as well. So you're hearing a couple of voices. So I guess that is probably allowed. Okay. Please let me know once you can see my screen. All right. So I'd like to know what you see. If my screen is fully informed. Okay, excellent. I think it's fine. Okay, guys. So I wouldn't want to waste much of our time. What I'll be speaking to today is the power of professional branding, and I'll be looking at this also through the lens of digital presence as young professionals that we are. A brief about myself beyond what had been spoken about before. I'd like to also describe myself beyond the conversation of human resource management, and I've been in that industry for about 10 years. I would also like to also speak to the fact that I like to do what I'm doing currently. I'm a public speaker, again, with over 10 years experience as well of engaging audiences like this. And on the side as well, I'm a business owner, an entrepreneur, if you like. Okay, so let's go, guys. So first off is when you have conversation around professional branding, it's oftentimes speaks to most of what you have on the screen: skills, experience, your reputation, your integrity, your talent, and trust. That naturally, when you walk into a room, I often make this analogy. When you walk into a room full of people that have perhaps not even seen you before, sometimes even people that have seen you a couple of times, but when you walk into a room, you make an impression, correct? Without saying a word, people also have an opinion of who you are, what you do. Sometimes they have an opinion of you, and sometimes that happens even with you, with other people walking into the room that you are also. I mean, when you also form opinions of other people, they tend to do the same to you. Now, it depends on the kind of image that you want people to see of you. That is essentially what branding is all about. If you can also easily relate to one thing, most of the celebrities that you see, sometimes when they show up, you know what they stand for. Yes or no? Right? Once somebody walks into the room, naturally, as humans, we have opinion of who they are, even when they haven't said anything. Now, when someone wants to share something with you without even showing you anything, you naturally look at somebody and be like, this person is probably not too brilliant or not smart. Oh, this person looks smart just because they dress smart. Like some people would say that now money be fine, Bobo, right? Sometimes the fact that somebody is also looking good doesn't mean that they are brilliant, doesn't mean they're smarter, doesn't mean they are also as talented as you are. And I love this saying that sometimes we question who we are. That who am I to be amazing, to be fabulous and intelligent? The question is, who are you not to be? A lot of time we question our inner ability and skill set that we have. We question a lot of things about ourselves. The fact that we are not enough. It's natural to have that thought in your mind, but ultimately you also have to have that strong belief that the biggest cheerleader you're going to have is yourself. And if you do not believe strongly in yourself, then there is an issue. That would take me to the next slide, which, before we take a deeper dive, just a brief about me that has been spoken about already. My name is Mustapha Kelani. I used to be the country HR business partner for Denso Nigeria. Denso Nigeria is one of the top 5 global advertising agency in the world. You would find Denso in over 143 countries. And then I hold an MBA and a BSc, my first degree from University of Lagos, and my MBA from Oxford University. And I'm also an associate member of Chartered Institute of Personnel Management in Nigeria. Now, what is branding? And by definition, I don't want us to do this bookish thing. So permit me, if I'm doing a bit of, let's speak professionally and let's be street smart. I hope that is allowed, because I would rather we have an engaging session than a boring session. So 3 things. First, the definition. Your professional brand essentially is your unique combination of skills, experience, and personality. Please take note of these 3 key areas: your skills, your experience, and personality. If you like, you could call it the CEP: skills, experience, and personality. All of these 3 areas are tied together, that you choose, that you want the world to see. What exactly is the skills you would like the world to see? What experience would you like to sell to people? And by extension, what kind of personality do you want to embody your skills and experience in? Number 2, if you were to be a product, what would your slogan be? Typically a lot of us know, if you see something like just do it, we know that is speaking to Nike, correct? Please, I'd like your feedback so I know I'm talking to people. At least if I cannot see your faces, I can at least also feel the emotions, right? If you were to be a product, what would your slogan be? If you see Nike, just do it would come to mind. If you see also some other brands that you might also be familiar with, who can remind us? Anyone? Anybody?
Everywhere you go.
Oh, fantastic. Everywhere you go, MTN. Fantastic. Good. Now, that said, there is also the key takeaways from this. It's your professional reputation, whether you manage it or not. Either you manage it or not, people has an opinion, people has an impression of what your professional standing is. It's pretty much like when we were in the university, right? Now, while you are as a university undergraduate, naturally, either you are the bookish guy in the class, or the smart person in the class. Sometimes when you walk into a new audience, people don't necessarily know all of those details. People typically keep their CGPAs from each other anyways, except if that CGPA is blamed. You know what I mean? If you're a 4 pointer and above, man, you're always proud to tell people that you are. But if you are like me now, that you probably have 1 point something, nobody wants to say that. But then the 1 point something guy walks into a room of people and is dressing looking so smart, and at the same time, come on, it smells so good. People would not even think about the CGPA, correct? Again, because he's showing up in a certain way that people know other people with that kind of look to look like, and which means that he would have an impression completely different from his reality. Okay, so it's important that we manage our professional reputation. It is not something you can leave to chances. That is the essential takeaway of this slide. Now, the next point I'd like us to also quickly focus on the next slide, is also an important slide that speaks to essentially why brands matters. Why do you have to brand yourself? Why do you have to, change the world view or the impression? We live in an first impression based economy, which naturally stands on a tripod, if you like, on the 3 key areas of visibility, credibility, and opportunity. I'm not rapping. but I just want you to take care of those areas. Your visibility matters a lot. Your credibility matters a lot. Your opportunity also matters a lot. Now, take for example, if you have a fantastic product that you want to sell to people, but then you keep it right in the back of your room, or you're always putting it in your pocket. But then there's also another guy. A fantastic example would be the idea of the current iPhone 17 that has unfortunately come to this world and decided to stop by in Nigeria. And Nigerians has shown that brand shaky in the last couple of weeks. Not for any reason, but then again, for some reason, our Niger people decided to go and brand iPhone XR into iPhone 17, which is almost now calling iPhone 17 a bad name. Anyways, that's not the point. But the point I'm making again is this: the first impression economy matters. Before the launch of iPhone 17, a lot of people had a lot of buzz around, they would like to get the iPhone 17. And a couple of people, perhaps has also grabbed themselves the real iPhone 17 or the supposed the real iPhone 17. And then after the XR, saga, I probably wish some of us are familiar with the stories, anyways. Then the sales and then the relevance of that brand began to drop gradually. That such is how strong the conversation of brand would be. I'll give you another example. Most of us or some of us are familiar with the brand No, right? The seasoning, brand No. Please, if you are with me, I'd like to see the response in the chat. If you're with me, please respond in the chat so that I know we're together. Now, that No brand, together with another brand, before another brand came into the market, it used to just be a Maggi, which is a brand of Nestle product, and a No conversation. An average, kitchen in Nigeria literally has those two brands. It's either you're using a No or you're using, a Maggi. Then over time, there came a new block, a new kid in the block, another brand. I can't recall the brand now. It's always in very small, cube-like shape that took the market by storm. Guess what? No didn't exactly do anything wrong. I guess maybe people were just getting tired of, using the same thing over and over again, and they decided to switch all over to the other brand. And them realizing this, they decided to make use of the power of social media, using influencers. And they came back rebranding, saying they are still in the market, re-emphasizing how important they are, how much, of course, people would love to use them, with a lot of strategies around, social visibility. They literally turned around the brand all over again and became something else. Such is the importance of visibility in the market. Therefore, now when it comes to you, visibility makes you stand out from the crowd of other grads, other young professionals, no matter how you look at it. If you're not visible, you're nowhere to be found. It is very important that you have a visible brand out there, sometimes not necessarily just on social media, within colleagues, within your peers. How do they see you? How do you show up? I used to know someone who in 2020 I'd finished from University of Lagos and had studied, I think, early childhood education. And as an educationist, anyway, apologies to anyone who was an educationist here. This is not to tarnish your image or the course of study that you have chosen for yourself. But then there's always this perception around, oh, if you've studied an education related course, you've likely become a teacher. Yes or no? Yes or no? Good. Thank you very much. Now, with such impression, he decided that's not exactly what he would like to do. And guess what my friend did? He used the entire COVID-19 period of stay at home to immerse himself into a deep learning opportunity for himself, exploring a lot of courses around data analytics because he wanted to be a data analyst. And he didn't just stop by learning most of those, SQL, Excel, what do you call it? Using Tableau, using Power BI and the rest of them. He didn't stop on all of that. No, he went one step ahead. After learning all of those things, he realized, oh, I can't keep this knowledge to myself. So he grabbed a couple of his friends and asked them if they wanted to learn it. And they said yes. So whatever he was learning in the classroom or he was learning on YouTube, he was also teaching it to others. He had the first cohort, he had the second cohort. The next thing you realize is while he was also impacting those knowledge, it became a lot grounded, in most of those topic choice areas that he was teaching people. Then he took it a next step further, which is where visibility comes. He decided to always share every single stage, that every single thing is teaching people, maybe on the virtual call like this. Sometimes he would also update those lessons on his LinkedIn pages. And he started gradually. He was doing it on Facebook, he was doing it on LinkedIn. And he combined most of these resources as a way to always show up. And then he went as far as looking for, you know, um, uh, data analytics or analysis challenge on Facebook, and he would enter for most of these challenges. Some of them he might not win, but he was always challenging himself, always picking up different data sets and always analyzing different data from one point to the other. And as he kept doing that, he was not doing that at the corner of his room. He was always he made sure that at every point in time he does that, he would always update it on his LinkedIn. At every point, while he's updating it on his LinkedIn, he's also updating it on Facebook and also Twitter. Now, the same guy that supposedly would have ended up in a classroom setting as an average teacher became a full-fledged analyst, and it was one of the best that I know right now. He's currently working with a company who's a multinational, and as of last year, I know he traveled out of the country to also support one of their offices somewhere in I think Liberia. He was there for like 3 months or 4 months before he came back to Nigeria, and as we speak, is somebody who is in their commercial department they can never joke with. Again, do not ever see yourself as someone who does not have the ability to do more. And naturally, Yoruba has an adage that apologies for those of you who don't understand Yoruba, but I'll break it down. What it means is the way you call yourself is the way people would also see you. Now, that's loosely been translated. But then again, if you say your own, plates is going to be used for washing hands, people would wash hands with it. If you rather tell people, you know what, this plate, no, nobody touches it, nobody washes hands in it. Rather, at best, you probably just use it to eat. Trust me, people would use it to eat, and they would never, stretch that usage to the point of washing their hands in your plate. That is because you have defined your own brand. Let's move a step further. Credibility. Build trust and shows you're serious. If you build a credible brand, it helps you to build your trust and shows that you're serious. The opportunity here is this. It helps you attract recruiters. It helps you attract employers. This same guy that I gave you the analogy got his job primarily because he was always showing up. So somebody became interested in his profile and decided to DM him. And that's what got him to where he is right now. Now, quick fact that you need to know is recruiters spend an average of at least 6 to 7 seconds reviewing resume. I'm one myself, so I wouldn't tell you a lie. Trust me, sometimes when I review resumes and I look through the resume, I don't see what I'm looking for. I move on to the next. Because how do you explain if I have to review over 700 or 1,000 CVs for one role and I have maybe 20 roles that I'm recruiting for, and I received over 1,000 applications? Matter of fact, the last recruitment that I did was for a management trainee role, and I had over 2,000 applications. Come on, I'm not a robot. Even a robot will do that in split seconds with certain parameters. The parameters is exactly what would screen you out if you don't have it on your resume. But that's not what we're going to talk about on this slide. So let's go on to the next one. But essentially, you need to realize that you always have the crowd and you always have somebody who is standing alone. Just exactly the example you have here, right? There's the crowd and there's somebody who is standing alone. And always know that it is always as if everybody is on a timer. You are always on a timer. So your first impression matters. And while your while your good grades might get you into the room, it's not enough. There are also some other factors that can take you further. Now, without much ado, of course, let's get to the next slide so we can get ahead. The next one is the 3 pillars of building your brand. The 3 pillars of building your brand. Number 1, I'll take a deeper dive into this very shortly. The number 1 is competence. consistency and differentiation. Competence, consistency, and differentiation. You have to always ensure that you're competent in whatever it is you want to show up with. You can't show up being somebody who is nonchalant, who doesn't really know what he's doing or what she is doing. Therefore, it is not enough to also be competent. It is also very important that you're consistently competent. Please get the difference clearly. You're competent at what you do. You're doing it excellently well. But how often do you do that? Are you consistent with it? And then finally, differentiation. You also have to find a way to differentiate yourself among the crowd. The next is now to take a slightly deeper dive into all of this, right? Sorry. Taking a deeper dive in all of this says the first pillar, which is competence. What does it speak to? It speaks to what you do, your skills, knowledge, and experience. Technically, what are the skills that you have? What are the knowledge, body of knowledge that you know that when they wake you up, it is something you can do without blinking your eyes? And then finally, your experience. What experience have you had over time? It's not enough to know it, but you have to do it. And it's not also enough to do it, but you have to show it. Takes us to number 2. Pillar 2 says consistency. This is how you show up. How do you show up? How do people see you? Oh, someone who is just, he's not being bad. Oh, no, try sha. You know, that kind of thing. Oh, no, try sha. Don't just be, oh, not try sha kind of people. Be the kind of people who, oh, if this is what you need, come on, talk to this person. You're good. I know people that if you're going to, okay, if I get calls sometimes, oh, I'm looking for an accountant. Without thinking twice, I know the kind of people that I pulled a call across to and said, you know what, give me 2 CVs. And when those people send me those CVs, I don't take too much time to review them because I know they will send me quality CVs. And I do not also doubt the competence of those people that were recommended. Consistency is very important. How do you show up? What are your values? What are your ethics? And are you reliable? You know, sometimes it almost sounds as if most of the people that works in the artisan industry in Nigeria, they used to learn unreliability together with their work. Am I correct? They learn not being reliable because when you call them, let's not go there because of time. I have a lot of ideas. For about the last 4 weeks ago, I've been trying to get a carpenter that could do some piece of work for me somewhere, and it's been a struggle, like a real struggle. If you get this one that they say, this one going, he knows the work, is not reliable. Because truly, I got another one who truly showed up. This one even showed up. But after looking at the work and giving a quote, and I gave him part payment, he disappeared, only to show up about a week later. Oh, something had happened. Maybe his grandma had swallowed cutlass. I don't know. But then again, such is the unreliability nature of people. And those people, come on, you're not going to call them the next time. Trust me. Ethics is very important because values and ethics and reliability, they drive your skills and knowledge. They are not standalone. If you're so good at what you do, but people cannot speak about your ethics, they can't speak about your values, your reliability. Do you show up at the right time for people? Oh, there's this meeting that you're supposed to be, there's an appointment, you always and consistently show up late. Please, that is going to reduce how consistent you are, and it's going to reduce your value ultimately. Pillar 3, differentiation. What makes you unique? First thing first, there's hardly anything that you're going to do that other people haven't done. So know that for sure. So uniqueness or differentiation is very important. You must create a specific niche for yourself, a passion, and always, please, importantly, always had a personal story. We now live in an economy that people are no longer buying just the brand or the product or you. They are buying your story. So you have to know how to tell that story and tell it the right way. Very important. The next point, define your brand statement. What kind of brand statement do you want to make? The formula to do this, very important. Let's look at this. Someone that says, you know what, I help tag, let's say, okay, let's say I help the youth age 15 to 25 achieve specific goal. In this case, just do I help them achieve their career objective by providing them unique set of skills that help them become a lot more marketable in any industry they find themselves. That exactly is an example that I just gave you. The formula is identify that target audience where you're defining your brand statement. Identify the target audience. And how do you identify the target audience? It's very important. Just say you help this, achieve this by providing this. Simple. Three key elements: the target audience, the specific goal, and the unique skills and service that you provide. An example, I help small businesses streamline their social media presence by creating visually engaging content and data-driven engagement strategies. Now, when I was in school, I remember one of my lecturers would always say that when anybody teaches you anything and they cannot tell you exactly how you're going to make money from that thing, come on, they're not teaching you the right thing. I'm sorry, but that is my philosophy. I think I belong to that school of thought as well. If you teach me quadratic equation, as seemingly vague as that might sound, and you can't tell me how much if I'm going to make money from that thing, because sometimes in life when we now become young adults or we become young professional, we're asking ourselves, hey, Joe, can you do quadratic equation that you're gonna all the integration and all the differentiation, all the whatever you're asking yourself, what is the essence of all of these things in today's world? Has he put any naira and cup on my table? My brother and my sister. Guys, if it doesn't really translate to something, value, and when I say value, you must also see it in real time. Sometimes we talk about the concept of delayed gratification. That's not what I'm talking about. But delayed or not, you must see a clear-cut way of how that thing is going to translate into tangible results. Okay. Now, the exercise or the assignment that I would like to give you is you should draft at least 1 to 2 sentence elevator pitch for yourself, which is exactly sometimes what you would also do when they ask you, tell me about yourself. Keep in that conversation the target audience. You have this, achieve this, specific goals and unique skills. Very important as well. The next point, building your digital presence. How do you build your digital presence? I know we might have a couple of questions around this, right? Let's we could take a deeper dive so that we do not waste too much of our time. Your LinkedIn is very important. If you have a LinkedIn page on this call, please just indicate using the emojis. If you have one, okay, 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 okay. All right, so I see. Good, fantastic. Because LinkedIn is very important that you have a LinkedIn presence. Not only that, use your social media as well. Sometimes you also should ask yourself, what exactly are you doing on those social media, and how are you showing up on those social media pages? Okay. Now here is an example of what your social media, your LinkedIn page should look like, especially your dashboard. It shouldn't be too tacky and not too far off. Now, how do you do this? It's very important that you identify three key things. What do you need it for? It's a requirement, not an option. You should not at this age and time not have one. Treat it like your online resume, your portfolio, and your networking tool. Very important. The actionable steps that you need to take from this is use a professional headshot, write a compelling summary of your professional experience, and get recommendations. Very important. Recommendation drives a lot of visibility as well, and it also speaks slightly to your also speaks to your credibility. Now, professional social media cleanup, this is what I'm talking about. You need to also check what exactly is on your social media. Recruiters on the average nowadays check, over 60% of them check candidates' social media profiles. And the audit, you need to set profiles to private. Some of us have accounts maybe on social media, on Instagram. Some of us have ghost accounts, the one that we are using to monitor other people. We know you. Set profiles to private, remove unprofessional photos or posts, check who you also follow as well. Pro tip, you should leverage platforms like Twitter or X if you like, or Medium. Very important. Medium is very, very important to demonstrate expertly and professionally. Now, a lot of us, you read articles on Medium. How many of us are familiar with Medium here? Or you've heard of Medium before? Good. One person, two, three, four, five. Okay, fantastic. Good. So if you do not have a Medium account, please go ahead and open one for yourself and begin to also show up. Now, I also tell people that when I speak about this concept of, oh, do they show up? A lot of us naturally just withdraw to our shell because you think, number one, the guy speaking to you right now has probably have it all covered, has probably have it all, figured out, or maybe there are other people that are also on this call that have it all figured out. I'm not like them. I am inadequate. You see that feeling of inadequacy? It is what comes naturally with human being. So do not think that you are alone. Every one of us at one point on the time, or even currently, are feeling inadequate. But guess what? A lot of us would be here. I have how many people here? Over 20 people, about 30 people. But guess what? Most of us on this call are not going to take any step outside of this conversation. And this is not going to, I'm not chastising you. It is just naturally the way life works. Not for any reason, but because there are some of us who are procrastinators who would say they will do it tomorrow. I would never do that. Some of us who copy most of those stuff that we see on social media sometimes, or something we have learned, we just copy it and paste it in our personal chats on WhatsApp as a clipboard. You keep it there. You become and revisit it. The one that you posted there in 2023 is still there. It's not doing anything. You have not done anything about it. Let alone the one in 2024. 2025 is almost rounding off. You have not done anything about it. Again, that is, we know some of us that are group admin of those WhatsApp group of procrastinators. Well, I mean, it's going to happen. But just do yourself a favor. Even if it's just one step, act. ACT, act, action, very important. If it is just one of them that you're going to act on, please do. Just take a step. A lot of time, we live in an economy where you are bombarded with massive amounts of content, a lot more than you can consume, a lot more than you require. As a matter of fact, I think that this generation is so lucky that you could literally have been working the last 20 years and then someday you just, you know what? I'm not interested in this. And you decide to go say, I think I want to be a designer. Trust me, without paying a kobo to anybody, 6 months consistent work on this, you would become someone unimaginable. It only takes one step. Just act. That's all. When I was working in the advertising space, we used to have one of our designers. The guy's name was Toby. Toby was the only one that I know who is a pro designer and is 100% self-taught. He taught himself anything called design on YouTube. There's literally no excuse in this age and time that you want to learn something. Well, I'm looking for somebody to teach me this. I'm looking for somebody to teach me that. There are lots and lots of resources to support you. There's almost no limit to what you can't do right now. So if you have yourself in that, you are faced up with, oh, I'm not doing so much. The economy is Tinubu economy. You have yourself to blame because at least Obasanjo has provided you with an internet. So use the Obasanjo internet the right way. Whatever content you choose to consume, either on TikTok, Instagram, or whatever, some of us will probably just stay online. You are just consuming some of other people's content and they are making money off you because you are contributing to their own CPM, right? But then, if you do not know how to use it the right way, I'm sorry, you are just a number. And when I say you're not just a number, is when they are calculating their own CPM, cost per click or cost per whatever, you are going to be part of that algorithm of people that clicked on their ad or their content that would end up making money for them, rather than you consuming something that is beneficial to you. Because guess what? All of those content creators, this and that you relate with their content, they are making hell of money off you. You help yourself to buy data. As a matter of fact, it's like data is choking some people right now. But after paying for that expensive data, especially if God now want to catch you using MTN. You're using MTN data. They will be sucking like it is pipe that they just plugged into your phone. They are sucking your life away. As if that's not even enough. You now use that hard-earned money to go and watch another person's content. And after watching it, you will decide, after spending some hours doing that, you put your phone aside. They are making money. There's no one single drop of money in your own account. My brother, my sister, please ask yourself the right question. Are you doing the right thing? Again, time is not so much on our side, so let's move on. Now, developing your content strategy. What do you need to do? 3 steps. Do not just consume, contribute. Don't just consume, contribute. How do you do it? Share articles relevant to your field, comment thoughtfully on industry posts, write short posts about a class project or any project you're working on. Show up. Let people see what you're doing. You're not small. You're not kidding, you know. All you have to do is just pick that same thing that you think it doesn't really matter. Just write about it. Just write about it. It's not, at some point you will come to that realization that the world does not reward hard work. All the silence, putting in the effort and everything sometimes doesn't even reward brilliance. It rewards massively those who show up. And if you decide to consistently remove yourself from the equation of showing up, you remain in the same spot, even if you have 1 billion of ideas. Number 2, goal. Show you are engaged and informed. That is your second strategy, developing your content strategy. The first one, do not just consume, contribute. Number 2, the goal should be for you to be engaged and informed. Number 3, avoid over or political controversial posts. Stick to your professional niche, please. Area will not concern you, please. No choke mouth. You know concern you. It's not everything that you must be doing. I'm a born. You are not a political activist. Leave political discussion to them. But please, except say you say one contest for election or if they do that. But if you're not interested in that, at least as of now, please just leave it to professional. All right. The next point is for us to also look at job readiness, the application phase, which is the third part of my presentation today. The application phase of your job readiness. What do you need to do? The modern resume, beyond the basics. You probably have heard about this countless of time. Ensure that your CV or your resume is ATS friendly, applicant tracking system friendly, using a clear headings and keywords for applicant tracking systems. Very important. Ensure that you also focus on achievements, not duties. Oh, I'm responsible for doing ABC. Who asked you that one? Instead of you saying you manage social media for this, you manage the data for blah blah blah. Who asked you to manage? Don't be managing. You're not just a manager. It's just like somebody like a gate man calling himself GM and a general manager. Both of them are GM, but then we know that somebody is doing the real work. The other one is also doing the real work, but then just pulling gates in and out. Instead, use words like increased engagement by 25% in 6 months. That is your achievement. And please don't be humble about the achievements. If you don't blow your trumpet by yourself, now say that me go come blow it for you. I'm sorry. That's why I started by saying you are your own best cheerleader. Number 1 cheerleader that you have is yourself. So if you're not going to do it, I'm sorry, no one is going to do it for you. Quantify everything where possible. If you also need to learn how to quantify your achievements, put a word to it or use a figure if you can. Please, very important. The next point that I also want us to look at, aside from the resume conversation and beyond the basics, networking. Networking, it's about giving, not taking. The myth is, oh, networking is only for finding a job. Please erase it from your mind. Networking is not only for finding a job. The reality is it's about building a genuine professional relationship. That's what matters. Just have a relationship with someone. Sometimes relationships that I've had with people, I have never for once requested them for anything or required them to do ABCD for me. But then I know them. And then at some point I might need that relationship, call on that relationship, or they do as well to me, right? The tip in this case is at least schedule a 15-minute informational interview with professionals in your desired field, and then always send a thank you note when they have such relationship with you. I'll give you my typical example. So as I speak to you, I'm speaking to you from Canada. I relocated to Canada sometimes in July. And when I got here, I sent a DM to someone who is a top gun in the HR fields in Canada, who coincidentally is also a Nigerian. I sent him a DM about the job market and stuff. There are a couple of different things that I put together in that DM. To my surprise, I mean, for someone who is an HR director, I wasn't expecting to hear back from him that soon. He replied by message, and we started a lot of back and forth conversation during that conversation. I mean, that chat on LinkedIn. And after a while, when I landed, he invited me to his house. Gentlemen and ladies, this is somebody I've never in my life met. The first time I'm going to meet this man was not just in a coffee shop or in a restaurant. He invited me into his personal home. I'm a total stranger. Inviting a total stranger into your home, at least, if for anything, you must have some level of, I don't know, trust, if you like, or confidence, if you like, to welcome a total stranger into your home in a new country. That, if you ask me, it's a win. And that's how networking works. After I went to this guy's house, introduced his kids to me, introduced his wife to me, and then went ahead to say, you know what? Next week, just send me a DM on WhatsApp. I'm going to tell a couple of, senior HR officers that I know in Canada. We're going to have a meeting. I'm going to mention you to them. Send me your CV. I think your CV looks great. I forwarded it to them. DM this person on LinkedIn. DM that person on LinkedIn. Tell them you're from me. Tell them. Sometimes it's not all about finding a job, but then you see that effort that I had to put in, and the response that I got in return is a massive win for me. Okay, so please, it is very, very important that you take networking very seriously. And oftentimes it's not about, oh, I'm looking for a job. No, because sometimes the person you're chatting with he's not the one holding your destiny and does not have a job to give you. Sometimes it's just the idea of, oh, do this, do that. Why don't you just remove this, add this? Sometimes that's all it takes. Okay. All right. For your interview preparation, I'm sure a couple of us have also done this before, but this is what I typically tell a lot of people when it comes to interview preparation. What is an interview? A structured way to answer behavioral question. Tell me about yourself, or tell me about a time that you handled a conflict. That's what the STAR method is for. STAR literally means situation, task, action, and result. STAR. Now, the key area is focus on the positive result and what you've learned. Let me give you a typical example of this, right? Let's go back to the slides where I spoke about when you are crafting your statement, right? Sorry, 1 second. I'll just quickly go to that slide where I give you an example of somebody, how you should put together your statements, as again, just doing it anyhow. No. 1 second. Coming up right up. Yeah. Here's it. Your brand statement is exactly how you literally happens to answer the question around it's using the STAR method to respond to an interview question, especially a situational one or a behavioral one. I help small businesses streamline their social media presence by creating visually engaging content and data-driven engagement strategy. That is one example. Let me give you a typical example now. Using each of those STAR as the actual response strategy. 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. Okay. Yes. The first one is STAR. S, speaking to what? Speaking to situation. What is the situation you're dealing with? Okay. The situation you're dealing with is, oh, there was a time I had a conflict. I'll use my example because I'm an HR manager. Once we had a manager who was struggling with how to manage people, and by extension, you had a lot of high turnover within that team. And what I had to do, that is, I have described the situation that I'm facing. Don't get me wrong. The situation is there's a manager that had a high level of attrition. Attrition means people were leaving his team, people were resigning. Then the next thing that we did was, which is coming to task. What do we need to do? Task. The next thing that we needed to do is to ensure that we nip this in the board. And what did I do, which is action? What I did was to ensure that I go back to the turnover data. Employee that are leaving the company would have to sign an exit form. So I went ahead to pick the exit forms and then exit data from the systems and analyze the result, because of course when you're filling an exit data you would also say, oh, this is the reason why you're leaving. So I looked at that and I was not being reactionary with how I am going to recommend the next strategy or the next step, the next course of action, but look at the data and then look at the manager that is also managing this set of people. It shows that most of this manager had been consistently being promoted over time based off their technical competency, as against how they literally would give feedback to people and how they manage people. Therefore, the action. Having realized all of this and pulled the data together, we decided we were going to design a program to train managers on how to give effective feedback, manage people excellently, and then become a top tier people manager and best employee champion. The result, after designing a program that we called the Me to We program, that explores the me versus we approach to giving feedback that is completely devoid of bias and genuine feedback process. And then we also role play most of this situation with most of the managers through the course of a 2-week program. The results became outstanding. Over the next couple of 1 year, we realized that the employee turnover didn't only drop, but we had a lot more team members that showed interest in moving across different roles. So they decided they wanted to stay with the company. So when there is a role that is applicable, they apply. And there were a lot of promotion internally. And at the end of the day, we were able to keep our best hands, and the manager themselves became a lot more better managers. Doesn't that sound like something really good? Does that not sound to you like somebody who knows what he's talking about? No, I'd like to have that feedback from you so that I know we're together. I'm trying to wrap up now. So exactly, that's how you use a situation, task, action, result, a STAR method to answer a behavioral or situational question in an interview. Please ensure that you use this oftentimes. Just bring about the situation, the task that you need to do, the action that you took, and ultimately, what was the result? Fantastic approach. You never go wrong with it anytime, any day. The next point I'd like us to look at is the post-interview follow-ups and the why you question. First off, the thank you, send a personalized email within 24 hours of the interview, reiterate your value, briefly mention a point from the interview and how your unique brand addresses that need. Final takeaway is maintain professionalism until you receive an offer. Key additional point is also, when at the end of the interview, please ask them a question around what would be the key KPIs of the roles, or what would they like to see in the ultimate candidate within the first 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days. Please, those are example questions that you can also ask after an interview. The future starts now. This is me summarizing. Ensure that you own your brand, define it, document it, and live it. Next, clean up your digital footprint. LinkedIn is mandatory. Social is monitored. When I say social is monitored, please ensure that you are careful of what you put out there. Quantify your success. Use data in your resume and interview. Network genuinely, build relationship. Don't just ask for favors. Very important. What is the first step you will take today to improve your professional brand? Gentlemen and ladies, thank you very much for having me.
All right, that was amazing. That was fantastic. Well done, sir. Thank you very much. That was amazing. Thank you so much. So if you have any question, please either signify or put your question in the chat box right now. Thank you very much. If you have any question, please put in the chat box or signify questions. Okay, you have the floor, sir.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I have a question, sir. Thanks so much, boss, for the session. Two questions here. So, number one, when you mentioned about quantifying our achievement on different roles,
Yes.
I once had a challenge. So, I had some experience in consulting.
Okay.
And so, in consulting, you are building solutions for clients.
Yes.
And to a large extent, you may not be able to quantify the success or the achievement based on the solution
Mhm.
at the client's end. So sometimes at those times when I get on interviews and then they're asking what impact did so solution that I built for that I've been building, what impacts did this solution make? I at the initial time I would be dumbfounded because in a way I wouldn't be able to tie the solution that I built for the clients to cost savings because they would not come back to us to tell us that okay, this dashboard, this analysis that you guys did for us saved us so amount of money. So we may not be able to. So the strategy I eventually deployed was first to begin to talk about okay, the when we prepare proposals, there are certain areas where we would have gotten some data from them to speak about the time that the solution that tool would provide for them would save them. So if they were doing their reporting manually and it was taking them maybe 5 days to report, after all of the automations that we'll do, that would be cut down to say 2 hours or 3 hours. So that became part of the conversation. But the question there is, in a scenario like that, what would be the best way to manage that conversation in an interview? To say that, yes, people are asking you about the impact of a solution you built, which you cannot directly quantify. So, how do you manage that? And secondly, is you mentioned something around the offer stage to be professional till you get offers. Sometimes you're interviewing for your role, and then everything just goes silent at some point. You're not hearing from the recruiter any longer, no communication, no feedback. They're not telling you where you are, but you already know that you have completed all of the stages of
Mm.
interview. So, what is the best way to keep up the conversation with them to know, especially to be sure you have not been ghosted? So, that's the side of the question there. And also the last question, if I would have the third one, is what is the best platform to negotiate offers? So what are the ways, the strategies to negotiate offers so that one is not leaving some money on the table? Thanks a lot, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. First, I'd like to answer the first question with, you see, I love the fact where you said before you deploy a solution, you have to understand the problem, right? Understanding the problem would now require getting some data as to where they are, where they would be also after you deploying a different solution for them. Now, it's also very important that you always have that feedback. See, for every systematic way of develop solution that you've developed, you always have to have at the end of it, very important, evaluation and monitoring, right? How do you monitor that that solution has worked if you do not have that feedback from them? Now, if I were to be in your shoe, here's what I would do. First is, I would use that data that I have at the beginning of the start of the project, right? Together with what exactly did that thing do for them, that solution? How did it impact their business? And that is where your relationship management skills comes in. Now, if you have worked with a big consulting brand, you'd realize that that is a huge part of their milestone of that project itself, because there's everything that you have done is going to be watered down if you do not get the impact. Therefore, give them, oh, they're just using it, so give them first, take it or leave it, the first 3 months, the next 3 months, that is 6 months, and then 1 year of using that same product. what is going to be the impact? So if you're working with the business as an employee, you might not have access to such data directly. If you're the one who designed the solution, you have access to it because you can ask them. Because ultimately, that's the reason why you built that solution. It's going to be one that can show you clear results. So I hope that answers the question. Second is when recruiters also go silent on you. Well, I think that typically happens a lot of time. Sometimes what could be responsible, there are a lot of reasons that could be responsible for that. Sometimes it could be that the role is on hold. I've personally had that, while I was working with the business. I would have time that, in fact, as a matter of fact, last week we still had a candidate that reached out to me asking if we were able to conclude the entire process. The truth is, while those internal processes are ongoing, the best for a recruiter to do is also to ensure that you also give that you give your feedback to the candidate so you don't lose them in the process. Because when you leave them without any feedback or in communication, they at the end of the day think, you know what is going to be the worst case? I'll probably lose this. And they'll go ahead to interview in other places as well. So you're losing candidates. Now, for candidates as well, you could also shoot them an email. Now, here is what shooting an email does. If you send me an email and I haven't responded to that email, I feel guilty. So, but when that email has never come in, I don't owe you anything, even though I'm supposed to send you something. But once you send me an email, you sent it the first time, second time, it becomes like, I have to tell this guy something at least. I have to keep you updated. So it's important that you as a candidate send a follow-up email. And when you do, oftentimes you get a response. At what point do you negotiate? See, a lot of time, there's not exactly a one size fits all to this. So, but from experience, here's what I would say, that when you are in an interview, first, before you even get into an interview, try as much as possible, if you can, get the salary range for that role, especially with that company. If you cannot for that company, for that industry, at least check online. A lot of data are available online now. If you cannot also get that online, you could also check with maybe people that currently works there, or ask within your community, do they know anyone who currently work within this company or within this industry? What does their salary range look like? And when they ask you for your salary expectation as well, you could also give them a range. Don't give them a figure, a round figure. Sometimes that is you also shooting yourself in the foot. But when you oftentimes give them a range, worst case scenario, they're probably supposed to put you in the medium part of that range. Okay. I hope that answers your question. Let's have the next question. Arika raised her hand earlier. I hope she
Okay.
still got to your question. Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much for the insightful session, sir. You answered some of my questions while attending to ID analytics question. But I want
Okay.
to ask, you mentioned something about shooting an email as a follow-up to when recruiters go silent on you. You
Mhm.
mentioned the first time, the second time. I want you to clarify, at what point do you become desperate? Or at what point do you stop following up? Like, how many emails is expected of you to shoot as a follow-up? That's number one. I had a case recently with a recruiter.
Mm,
It's someone I met in a course. I am actually on a course and on a program, so she happened to be there too. So I volunteered to do one or two projects for free just to broaden my knowledge on the data analysis space and all of that. So she came
mm,
on board and she told me she was joining an organization newly. So I told her, oh, I'm open to opportunities now that you're a recruiter. I had her contact. And then I saw her post a job. I've seen it a couple of times. I just said, I think this thing looks interesting.
mm,
I just sent her a DM that, oh, I'm interested in this role. Immediately she saw that I was interested. Oh, she asked for my resume, which I sent.
mhm,
And then the next thing she did was, oh, what's the expectation for this thing?
mm,
I looked at the location. I looked at the industry. I didn't give a range.
mhm.
I think I shot myself in the leg, but I gave something that I would be comfortable with.
Okay.
So I gave her a figure. And then
Okay.
she sent back a crying emoji, like, oh, uh, this is too
So,
outrageous and all
okay.
of that. I
Mhm.
now said, okay, what is the range for this role? At least give me what you guys are going to pay for this role. She said the person that left was
Mm.
being, I don't know if she will be truthful because I know HR work for management. She said the person that left was being paid to some amount. I said, I can't take that, but I can take this.
Okay.
But one of the things I think I realized was maybe I shouldn't have given her, I shouldn't have come down, like reduced my number immediately. I
Mm.
should have given it time because I know she wants me to take up that role. She was
Mm.
interested, which would have been my own strong point, but I think I
Yeah.
lowered my bar too early.
Mm. Okay. Thank you very much for sharing. I like that. I'll start from where you stop. See, when you're having a conversation with a recruiter like that, uh, there was also the statement that you made about HR working for management. Well, there are different kind of HR. There are different people as well. I, for one, um, even though I'm an employee myself, I am neither too much to the management side and neither am I also too much to the employee side because sometimes you have to draw the line and you have to tell the management, what can work and what cannot work. You have to also tell employees themselves, this, no, it's not realistic because a lot of time I see the numbers on the management side and I know what we are able to do and I know what we cannot do. Okay. So when I'm talking to a candidate and the candidate is saying, you know what, this is what I'm looking at, I'm also able to tell you this is the range that we have for this role, and this is what can work. If it works with you, let's go ahead. But then where you lost the conversation was like you also pointed out, where she had told you, you know that she would want you to work for them. You should have cashed in on that. And how do you do that? First thing is you're going to draw more attention to the value that you bring to the table first, which I think she realized also already. So keep the conversation within that line of that value. Over time, during the course of the conversation, they realize that, but then the only problem is you're too expensive, right? But then too expensive, something good doesn't come cheap too. So at best, they'll probably just negotiate with you and say, oh, you know what? Even though this is exactly our budget, but we can at least go a bit higher. But does that work for you? And then you begin to have that negotiation until you come to something a lot more realistic. Okay. I think that if I recall, that was the only question you have, right?
I also wanted to clarify that at what point does the candidate become
Okay,
desperate
yes, the
when it
email.
comes to following up?
Yeah, the follow-up email. Okay, so here is it. A lot of time people send, sometimes it becomes too disturbing even for the recruiter as well. You have nothing to lose. That's the way I usually look at it. What do you have to lose when you send follow-up emails? But then don't make it too disturbing on the recruiter as well. If you have sent one, two, three emails at best, just stop at that. Really, if you don't get any other response, there are a couple of reasons that might have happened. There's a chance they probably have closed the role and the recruiter has got too much on their desk to respond to your email, or the mail. I mean, the process is probably also on hold, and they don't have a defined or definitive feedback to give to you. That's why they haven't responded. So you just can never tell what's on the other side of the table. But if you have sent one, two, at best, three emails, just leave it at that. And at that point, like I usually tell people, do not ever put all your eggs in one basket. Keep exploring other options. As a matter of fact, if I've applied to a couple of jobs and I interview for A, B, and they look promising and they're not coming through, I just move ahead. I mean, I start talking to other employers. I start applying into other roles as well. You just never know. There's nothing that you have to lose. What do you have to lose by applying to the others? Is rather their own loss than yours. Because by the time you have another offer on the table, or you have another offer handy, you really have nothing to lose. At best, they probably came up or came back to you with an offer when you are perhaps accepted another offer already. You have nothing to lose. If their offer is better, the environment is better, they have better culture, they have a lot more maybe rewards. Come on, by all means, even if you have worked for this new company for 3 months, tell them you're leaving, and that's it. Really, a lot of time you have to be selfish about your own career. Trust me, because there will come a time moving around like that will not be so easy. If you stick around in the company for 10, 20 years, well, except if it's a shell, you can stick around for 20 years by all means. Or if it's a very massive company, by all means, please stick around. It's a good thing because oftentimes the more you also stay, they have reward system that rewards loyalty and all of that. But if you haven't gotten yourself to that point of working for a multinational that is really, really big and massive, please, at best, maybe do 3 years or 4 years. Four is even a lot sometimes, but depending on the company, anyways. But do 3, 4 years and then move on to another opportunity somewhere else. And naturally, also, you get to a time in your career, you don't just move for the sake of moving. You make a strategic move. And sometimes, like they say, everything is not money sometimes. If you're not learning well in a company, you must at least be earning well. So sometimes it is not the money that you're there for the experience. Once you get the experience, they're not paying you well, go to somewhere other company that will pay better for that experience and move on with your life. Ahmed Ajayi, please.
Good evening, sir. Mr.
Good evening.
Kelani, thank you so much for this insightful session. It has really gone a very long way and a better way now. Lives. My first question is I would like to ask, as regards the branding and optimizing our presence, what tools or platform do you advise to learn more on this? That's number one.
Okay.
Then, secondly, as regards what you whether you're in a company and you're not learning up to expectation, and basically, as regards the pay as well, is nothing to write about. What do you advise? And lastly, as regards job hunting, what's the best way or approach or platform do you advise on this? Thank you, sir.
Okay. To look for job, I mean, LinkedIn is there. You look for jobs on LinkedIn. You could also look for job by also reaching out to a couple of recruiters that have different access to different job boards. There are lots of just Googling a role itself would give you access to a lot of information as to where such opportunities are available. Then you could also send a cold email. Thank you very much, Kendi Abdulaziz. You could send a cold email. Sometimes they don't necessarily need to put out a role before you send. You also realize that there are some companies, a lot of companies really, they don't advertise a lot of roles. There are roles, there are vacancies in those companies, but they never advertise them. But when it's time to recruit, they just look for their database and see what's there. They review CVs and then they reach out to the candidates. Okay. Then you also ask a question around, I can't recall your second and last question, the first and second question now. Yes, optimizing your LinkedIn. Yes, you asked the question about
branding.
optimizing your LinkedIn and branding, right?
Yes, I said, what platform or tools do you advise to learn more about this?
Okay, so optimizing your LinkedIn, there are lots of people that are doing that now to teach you how to optimize your LinkedIn. There are different sessions you could join, webinars. Sometimes you also have to just engage in people that does maybe your resume revamp or revamping your LinkedIn page for you and tell you exactly what you should put there. I've got a couple of them that if you are interested, I can recommend, but it doesn't come for free. But because you have to also realize that. Anyways, if you know what I mean. If you are looking for something, you've got to also be able to pay for it. Everything that comes cheap or for free, a lot of time, they do not have as much value. So if you're really, really looking for something of value, you have to be able to be ready to part away with something, really, because it doesn't come for free. So that's also very important. Now, branding yourself, there are lots of resources online as well that you could use, to also improve who you are. Now, the way I am talking to you right now, the Kelani that is talking to you has not always been like this. Trust me. The very first time that I had to make a public statement, especially in English, if I tell you right now, right here, that it was a disaster, I'll be putting it mildly. Really. Because that's session, I would never ever forget that experience in my life. It was supposed to be a session that should last for 5 minutes of me presenting a speech. Ah, in fact, I don't even know how to describe it because I went from using is and was together. You don't get where I'm supposed to say is, I will say was. Where I'm supposed to say what, I will say is. I will have my long pause. I don't even know what I'm doing again. I had my session of brain waves. Everything that I prepared for will just decide for some reason they ran away in my brain. And I'm staring, looking at people in front of me that because I had the opportunity to have actually given that speech in Yoruba, but I chose to give it in English. I had people sitting there looking at me with the mindset of because I took them through an agony experience of sitting them down for 15 to 20 minutes, something that typically would have lasted for 5 minutes. Some decided to walk away. Some people were pitying me like, oh boy, in suffer. Some were looking at me with the eye of, hey, yeah, it didn't tap on by. You know, but I didn't see those things as a big deal because I wanted to learn. And you don't learn by not doing. You do those things because you want to learn. People that were there that laughed, people that hissed, people that whatever impression that they had in their mind, while I am not where I'm supposed to be yet, that I know 100% that I'm not there yet, I also know that I'm not where I used to be. Okay? So find succor and so much pleasure with the idea of you not being enough, but do not settle for not being enough. Have it at the back of your mind. You always want to do something extra, always wanting to do something extra. Consistency is the key, guys. Always have that drive to do more and be more. All right. I hope that answers your questions, Ahmed. Okay. Thank you very much. Any other question? I'm sure time is fast spent already.
All right. I think there's no other question. Thank you very much, everyone, once again for joining this session.
Okay,
And
sorry, quickly. Let me just quickly answer Temi Tokwe Olaleye, who says, how do you usually evaluate people who are transitioning to a new career like data analytics, where their past experience might not apply directly? What makes you decide someone like this will be a strong fit for the role? Again, if you recall during the course of my presentation, I cited an instance of storytelling. We live in an area today where you have to show up. So please ensure that you're showing up. Also, find a way to tie your previous experience um, to your current endeavor and profession that you would like to, take a deep dive into, which is data analytics. That helps your story become unique. If you cannot find that way, please look for a way to marry the two experience, especially because data analytics gives you the luxury of being able to quantify results and seal them in real time, rather than you doing whatever role that you've been doing before that I don't know, but I'm very sure that you are able to find a midpoint between the two. I hope that helps you. Thank you.
thank you very much, sir. Okay, there are no other questions. So thank you everyone for joining once again. See you next time.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot for your time.
You're welcome. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Kelani.